Am I a dog that you send children to bark at me? Send me your king! Send me Saul, so I may add his skull to my collection!
Before he was a god to the Philistines, he was a nightmare to the wild. Goliath did not learn to walk, he learned to crush. Goliath, only 7, grips a spiked club with knuckles the size of apples. He stares into the dragon's dying eye, his face devoid of fear, only a hollow, bottomless hunger for dominance. He doesn't celebrate the kill. He simply turns his back on the beast, looking toward the horizon of Israel with a sneer that promises a coming storm. Goliath sits on a throne too small for his frame, his massive hand gripping the throat of a defeated sovereign. He is the extortioner of nations, his voice a low thunder that demands not just gold, but the very dignity of his captives. 30 kings begged for mercy. 2,000 warriors died, believing their steel mattered. Goliath took their lives, then took their children to fill his slave pens. He gestures to a line of 500 shackled souls. Among them, women weep in terror as his shadow looms over them. Goliath smiles, a jagged, predatory expression. He has never known a rival. He has never known a no. To him, the world is a feast, and he is the only one invited to eat. Under his heavy boot, the history of a dozen tribes is ground into the dust of Gath. In Gath, the soul is a stubborn thing. We die 9 times before we stay in the dirt. But every giant needs an anchor, a witness to pull them back from the gray void. Gararah's hands tremble as he rubs a blood stain from the bronze. He glances at Goliath's massive, sleeping form. Memories of his wife's screams and Goliath's mocking laughter burn in his throat like bile. He is the keeper of the giants' 9 lives, the one tasked with whispering the ancient chants to guide Goliath's subconscious back to his body should he fall. Gararah was more than a servant, he was the bridge to life. But a bridge built on broken bones and stolen honor is a treacherous path to walk. Goliath stirs, instinctively kicking Gararah. The armor-bearer doesn't flinch. He simply watches the giant's clouded eyes, realizing that the man who owns his life has no idea how much his servant prays for the silence of the grave. The earth didn't just shake when he spoke, it surrendered. Goliath stands at the edge of the Israelite camp, his stature blotting out the sun. He laughs, a booming, hideous sound that sends ravens scattering from the trees. He boasts of the chains he has already forged for the sons of Jacob, promising to sell their daughters by the pound in the markets of Ashdod. Behind him, the Philistine Army cheers, a wall of bronze and bloodlust. Goliath spreads his arms wide, a titan of absolute certainty, unaware that the high noon sun is glinting off a single, smooth stone being plucked from a nearby brook. To Goliath, this isn't a war. It is a harvest. The tallest tower crumbles from within. For all his might, the world was becoming a smudge of gray and shadow. Goliath blinks rapidly, his clouded eyes straining against the white fog. He can see the sun, but not the bird. He can see the army, but not the faces. He turns his rage on Gararah, gripping the armor-bearer's throat until the smaller man's face turns purple. He roared at him, saying, "Why is the lamp dim? Fix the light, or I will pluck your eyes to replace mine." Gararah says nothing, his feet dangling off the ground. He sees the giant's secret, the vulnerability Goliath hides from the world. He realizes the invincible butcher is navigating by sound and memory. As Goliath flings him aside, Gararah feels a cold, dark hope. The giant is blind to the pebble beneath his feet. Pride sees only what it expects. Goliath expected a lion, a bear, or a king. He did not expect a boy who smelled of sheep and mountain air. Goliath squinted. To him, David was a flickering brown shape in the distance. He roared in derision, his voice cracking the silence of the valley. He mocked David's staff, calling it a twig for a dog. He says, "Come closer, little bird. I will give your flesh to the vultures and your soul to the winds of Gath." He began his heavy, thundering march forward, each step shaking the valley floor. He was so loud in his own boasting that he didn't hear the rhythmic whir, whir, whir of the leather sling spinning in David's hand. Goliath felt the weight of his 9 lives and his heavy armor, certain that no mortal tool could ever pierce his legend. He was a god in his own mind, and gods do not fear children. He relied on the weight of his steel. He forgot that the wind belongs to the swiftest, not the strongest. David dances aside, the heavy spear thudding harmlessly into the earth. Goliath bellows, his blurred vision losing the boy in the glare of the sun. He remembers the old Gath warning.
Stopping the javelin may not mean no miss for the sling.
He scoffs at the thought. To him, the leather strap in David's hand is a toy, not a weapon of execution. Goliath leans forward, his clouded eyes wide, trying to track the movement. The white fog betrays him. He sees only a flicker where he expected man. In that moment, the giant was truly blind. The stone finds the only weakness in his bronze fortress, the soft flesh of his forehead. There is a sickening crack, like a hammer hitting a melon. The Titan's knees buckle. The world goes silent. Goliath hits the dirt face first, mountain falling into the sea. The giants of Gath do not stay down. They wait for the call. They wait for the anchor. Goliath's fingers twitch in the dust, his subconscious groans, reaching out through the spiritual void for Gararah to guide him back to his second life. But Gararah does not move. He does not chant. He watches the giant struggle, remembering his wife's face and the years of extortion. Gararah mutters,
"Stay in the dark, monster!"
Gararah turns and walks toward the horizon. The anchor is gone. The 9 lives are severed. He who lived by the blade was finished by his own pride and his own steel. David heaves the heavy weapon. With one clean strike, the head of the man who defied God is separated from the body that enslaved kings. The Philistine army breaks into a panicked retreat. The God King is just a carcass. Moral of the lessons. Lesson 1, the shadow of injustice. You cannot build a throne on the suffering of others and expect them to save you when you fall. Lesson 2, the illusion of invincibility. Arrogance blinds us to the simplest truths. Even a giant can be felled by a pebble if he believes himself untouchable. Lesson 3, true sight versus physical sight. Goliath had the eyes of a predator, but was blind to his own soul's decay. David saw with the eyes of faith and moved with the precision of truth.